is BBC News, our top stories. Can Emmanuel Macron forge an agreement to prevent conflict in Ukraine? The French president is in Kiev after apparently productive talks in Moscow. The UK government announces its delayed plan for cutting the National Health Service waiting list backlog.
No one will wait longer than 2 years by July this year, and the NHS aims to eliminate the waits of over 18 months by April 2023.
And Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says protests against COVID measures that have paralysed the federal capital have to stop. Hello and a very warm welcome to BBC World News. The French President Emmanuel Macron has been holding talks in Ukraine with President Zelensky as part of wider efforts to try to de-escalate the crisis with Russia. Downing Street says the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has no intention of apologising for his false claims that the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, failed to prosecute the sex offender Jimmy Savile when Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions. There's growing pressure on Boris Johnson to withdraw that claim after the Labour leader was targeted by an angry mob of protesters who accused him of protecting paedophiles. The Prime Minister has condemned the harassment. The Health Secretary has, in the last hour, announced the government's delayed plan to tackle England's record waiting list backlog. There are currently 6 million people waiting for elective treatment. More than 300,000 people have been waiting more than a year for operations like hip and knee replacements or surgery to correct sight problems. This is what the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has told MPs in the last few minutes. Sajid Javid. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said ongoing protests in the capital Ottawa against COVID restrictions have to stop. The city centre has been paralysed for 12 days by hundreds of parked lorries. Ottawa's Mayor, Jim Watson, wants 1,800 more police officers and on Sunday declared a state of emergency in the city. The oil giant BP has reported its highest profit for 8 years amid soaring oil and gas prices. The company made £9.5 billion for 2021 and saw its profits rocket in the final quarter of the year. But for households, these climbing energy prices have caused a huge increase in bills. Now, children who watch or listen to the BBC's CBeebies bedtime stories in the UK have been used to celebrities reading them. Dolly Parton, Ryan Reynolds, for example. Well, now they can look forward to a story read by the Duchess of Cambridge. She has recorded reading The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark by Jill Tomlinson.
Person who's not sitting is Carol.
What is your message to people like that this morning?
Is that your position now?
That BBC Breakfast, I take that all day.
BBC Breakfast. Join us on the best seat in the house.
Hello, a very warm welcome to you. I'm Jane Hill. It is awards season, and in the next few minutes we'll be finding out which actors and filmmakers are nominated for the starriest of them all, the Oscars. With me for this BBC News special is the film critic Jason Solomons. Lots to talk about in the next hour. We'll be live in Los Angeles very shortly for the first round of announcements. First though, let's just remind ourselves of some of the top contenders.
I wonder what little lady made these.
Actually, I did, sir.
The 1920s western The Power of the Dog is a favourite, and could Jane Campion become the third woman to eventually win the Oscar for Best Director? Kenneth Branagh's touching memoir of childhood in Northern Ireland is in contention. Will he be nominated in the directing category for Belfast after being overlooked at the BAFTAs?
Guess I'm not in the mood today.
Mood? What's mood to do with it?
The sci-fi epic Dune looks stunning on the big screen after leading the way at the BAFTAs. Is it going to do equally well with US voters?
The most strongest, the most powerful, the most dangerous creature on this whole earth. It's a woman who knows how to think.
Will Smith will be hoping for game, set and match for his role as the father of the Williams sisters in King Richard. The Best Actress category is really wide open this year. Could Britain's Olivia Colman be among the names we hear today for her remarkable performance in Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Lost Daughter?
Tonight, it all began tonight.
And with this show-stopping performance by Rachel Zegler as Maria is Steven Spielberg's adaptation of West Side Story, a favourite with the Academy. Well, we will find the answer to a lot of those questions and more in the next few minutes. We'll be in LA shortly. We've just got a couple of minutes, Jason, to talk about the year in film. Let's start with Best Picture. It's one of the categories everyone looks at. And the Academy has said, I think, this year that it wants all 10 spots to be filled. You can have 10 films in that category. That's to reflect a little bit better that what we're all watching, I think.
As you and I have been doing this show for quite a long time, and every year we think, oh, will there be 8? Will there be 9? Will there be 10 since they've opened up the category? We think they're going to be 10 this year, so we can be pretty certain that 10 films will be vying for Best Picture. What always comes out of the nominations day is which film is leading it with a number of nominations. It's a hard fact, statistical sort of winner from today.
Pete's advice, he did said buy a really nice tuxedo, but I don't know. More in depth.
Well, congratulations to both of you. Many more nominations in your future, I'm quite sure, and well done to Aardman as a studio. They're just fantastic people, aren't they? Wonderful. Many congratulations to all, and the Oscars are the 27th of March. See you then. Bye-bye.
Hello, this is Impact. I'm Yalda Hakim. President Macron of France has been holding talks in Kiev with President Zelensky as part of wider efforts to diffuse tensions between Russia and Ukraine. The two leaders have just held a news conference where President Macron said he believes there are concrete, practical solutions to restore security on the European continent. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says protests against COVID measures that have paralysed the Canadian capital have to stop. Boris Johnson says he has no intention of apologising for his false claim that opposition leader Keir Starmer failed to prosecute the paedophile Jimmy Savile. And the Western, The Power of the Dog, Dune and West Side Story lead this year's Oscar nominations for Best Picture. That's all coming up here on Impact. French President Emmanuel Macron has been holding talks in Ukraine with President Zelensky as part of efforts to try to de-escalate the crisis with Russia. The 2022 Oscar nominations have been announced. The Netflix Western, The Power of the Dog, led the nominations with 12, including Best Film, Best Actor for Benedict Cumberbatch, Best Supporting Actress for Kirsten Dunst, and Best Director for Jane Campion, who makes Oscars history as the first woman with 2 Best Director nominations. The sci-fi cinema hit Dune came in second with 10 nominations, including Best Picture. The British 1960s drama Belfast got 7 nominations, including in the Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay category. And its writer, Kenneth Branagh, who also will be vying for the Best Director award, along with Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. His film also received seven nominations, including Best Picture. For Best Actress, which was a bit of a toss-up this year with so many contenders, Olivia Colman has been nominated for The Lost Daughter, as has Kristen Stewart for her portrayal of Princess Diana in Spencer. And we'll be back in 30 minutes' time with all the latest headlines. Hello, this is Impact. I'm Yalda Hakim. President Macron of France has been holding talks in Kiev with President Zelensky as part of wider efforts to diffuse tensions between Russia and Ukraine. We'll speak to a former German ambassador to Russia about what the French president's visit has achieved. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says protests against COVID measures that have paralysed the Canadian capital have to stop. Boris Johnson says he has no intention of apologising for his false claim that opposition leader Keir Starmer failed to prosecute the paedophile Jimmy Savile. That's all coming up here on Impact. The French President Emmanuel Macron has been holding talks in Ukraine with President Zelensky as part of efforts to try to diffuse or de-escalate the crisis with Russia. And finally, children who watch and listen to the BBC's CBeebies bedtime stories in the UK have been used to global celebrities like Dolly Parton, Ryan Reynolds and Orlando Bloom on their screens. And now they can look forward to a story read by the Duchess of Cambridge this weekend. Kate has been recorded reading The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark by Jill Tomlinson to mark Children's Mental Health Week. And that's it from me and the team here on Impact. We'll be back again tomorrow. Goodbye for now.
Well, let's see what's happening on the weather front across Europe.